Hey everybody, it is May 19th, 2025, and I just wanted to make this video. I talked a little bit about this today during the live stream. I wanted to make this video to show you guys a little bit about how even I build myself a scan within Finn Viz. I personally love Finn Viz. You guys can tinker with it a little bit more. I went out today and got Finn Viz Elite, so there is no more ads popping up. And we don't have to look at those eyesores. Hopefully I find a little bit more value in Finn Viz Elite. I will let you guys know how I feel about it going forward, but I was just using the free version for forever. I found it to be plenty. But I will be just kind of diving into in this video here how we build a watch list. And you guys will even notice that some of the stocks that I've been talking about, some of the stocks that I do talk about, end up on a screener as simple as this one. And so I wanted to make this video just so I can put it in like the education tab for, just scanning the market, building your watch list as an educational video. And hopefully, the people who missed today's live stream will always have that for themselves going forward. So, very, very simply, for those of you who don't know, this effectively is Finviz. This is the finviz.com website. It's very convenient, right? You have your tickers that were your top gainers on the day, your biggest losers of the day, a nice little heat map. They draw out some, they give you some tickers that, have symbols, that some things are wedging, some things are channeling up, blah, blah, blah. I don't really focus too much on that. I like to get right into the meat and potatoes, and I like to make myself my own screener. So, when I go into finviz.com, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to click on screener. And then one of the things that I like to do is, instead of going descriptive, fundamental, technical, news, ETF, I just go to all, and effectively I get all of the things that they have as potential filters to help me find what it is that I'm looking for. So one of the first things that I tend to look for when I'm on Finviz is I'm focused on the market cap, right? So I don't want anything that's too massive and above, or too cheap. I want something effectively small, but it has to be over $300 million. I don't want to be in things that are, under 200 million, or things that have to be 5 billion and above, right? Just anything that's over $300 million of market cap. It effectively eliminates everything else that's below it. That's just going to be either too illiquid, too cheap, too shitty, and let's just go ahead and throw those out the window. So first filter is small when you go to market cap. Second thing down on the far left column, market cap, small plus, so over 300 million. The next thing that I want to do is, especially now that the market has been healthier, I do not care about stocks if they're not above their 50 simple moving average at this point. So very simply, price has to be above 50 simple moving average. So price above 50 SMA. I only want to look for stocks. I don't care about ETFs. So stocks only, exclude funds, right? So that's one that I will have right there. The other one that I normally like to have is 52-week high-low. So I want to know stocks that have already been in an uptrend effectively. So, if I'm looking at from its 52-week low, so, going back a year, I really want to know stocks that are, call it even 50% above their low. And this is where you can kind of get to the tinkering. If you want stocks that are have been very explosive, right? 70% above their 52-week lows. 50% is going to give you, a wider range of stocks. But just for the sake of this video, and so we can kind of narrow our focus. And again, this is where I like Finviz. You go ahead and play with it. You can save the scanner. You can build another one. You can save that one. And just kind of fool around with these. But for the sake, again, of this video, let's do 70% or more above their 52-week low. So let's go 70% or more above low is what I like to do. For price, I don't mind stocks that are, and the reason that I say this is as long as they trade enough volume, right? I remember I caught a super, super big winner in Rocket Lab, and I had like a $6 average. So really, I don't want to do over 5, right? I mean, that'll get you there. But even Rocket Lab, let's just say over 7, right? Let's just somewhere in the middle, over $7 on stocks. And then we can go a little bit further. Average volume, it's going to give me stocks that are a bit more expensive, stocks that are a little bit cheaper. But if, and again, when I'm scanning, I will look at these charts and I'll put them into Thinkorswim, or I'll put them into Deep View, or I'll put them into your Trading View. You're going to look at how much volume they're actually trading, multiply it by the price. That gives you your dollar volume. I want my stocks at the minimum, again, because it's dependent on price, to be trading at least over 100,000 shares per day. I mean, obviously, this is just going to filter out and weed out all of the crap, low float China stocks, that are just kind of booming, trading, 85,000 shares a day. So how do we take this thing one step further? Well, we're going to take this thing one step further by, and obviously you guys can see here, I have 20 pages, right? That's just a little bit obnoxious. So what's something else we can do to, to kind of, tighten these things up? One of the things that I then like to do is I like to look at EPS growth quarter over quarter. If anybody here has studied Bill O'Neill, what did Bill O'Neill always say? Stocks that had earnings and sales growth 30% greater quarter over quarter for 3 straight quarters tend to give you the biggest moves in the future, right? So especially in a healthy market. So again, this is one of those that you can tinker with as well, but I like to go with, let's go over, let's call it 20% quarter over quarter on EPS, and then right next to its sales column, 20% quarter over quarter sales growth. All of a sudden, my window of stocks has gotten a whole lot smaller. If I want to take it even one step further, let's go 30% quarter over quarter growth and 30% quarter over quarter growth for sales. All of a sudden, now we're down to 3 windows. And then very, very simply, what do I do? Well, if I want to take it one step further and you're like, hey, look, this market has been super strong. If you're not above the 200 simple moving average, I don't care about you either. So price above the 200 SMA. What does that do? It still leaves us at 3 pages, but maybe knocked off a few tickers. And then, you've got this really, really nice list of charts. Obviously, you can just kind of hover over them, and these are going to be charts that are very, very strong. But again, let's go a little bit further. Let's just look at this in chart form. Go ahead and click chart. Scroll down. Now you have chart. And then if you want to take it again one step further, Finn Viz does allow me to adjust these. So it's got a 50 simple, a 200. So those are just the only 2 lines on the chart. Completely fine. But just kind of to take a bigger picture view on some of these charts, right? We can look at the weekly. And then we go down to these stocks right here. And again, this is, you're at 5 pages, but now we're looking at charts effectively, and there's only, 12 charts per page. So now there's effectively, 5 pages worth of charts for us to look through. And then I can start to really see these names and, figure out what exactly is what. So, A-Lab, Semiconductor, AMSC, and then, you've got your industry group. So right when I'm looking at the industry group, you can see how this says specialty, industrial machinery, and then BCRX, drug manufacturer, lodging, solar, right? And you can look at it like that. And it's a very, very nice way to start to make sense of what group these things are in, right? CRDO, another semiconductor, right? A-Lab, a semiconductor, right? Carvana, and you can start to see what these weekly looks like. And again, for me, it's just as simple as, taking a few of these stocks and going through them, right? What does an Affirm look like? Nope. What's AGX look like? And then you'd say, okay, well, this thing moves 5% per day, completely vertical, effectively new all-time high. Is that going to be a double top short sale? I don't know, but I would never buy this here. Needs to build out the right-hand side of the chart, but AGX looks pretty interesting. Trades $50 million a day, a bounce right off the lows, straight up the right-hand side. Okay, next, A-Lab. How does that look? Okay, well, it's just starting to come around above the 50, above the 200. It's in the semiconductor space. A nice move up, starting to flag out a little bit here. A few more days, this thing could look good, right? AMSC is another stock. And so when I'm coming across these names, if I think that they're actionable, right? So not only did I already filter, I know they have good earnings and sales. When I recognize that they're in a similar group and these groups are hanging out well, all of a sudden they make my bigger watch list. I wait for a daily setup that I understand, right? I size it right, timing it up with the market. And again, I don't think that this video needs to go too much longer. I just wanted to give you guys kind of a preview of how I use Finviz, but we'll just finish going through this list and you guys can see EQT, super base on the weekly. This thing has just gone really nicely sideways. I mean, the weekly on this thing looks fantastic, like it wants to go higher. HIMS is another one that's on there. KGC is a name that I own. Hood is a name that we've been talking about for forever. Guys, these are just literally great names. Palantir, even these more speculative stuff, right? Your QBTS, your QUBT. Obviously, they have accelerating earnings and sales. Well, because when you've never had any earnings and sales before, even making $15,000 for the quarter is considered accelerating. And if you're above all of the moving averages and you meet the liquidity constraints that I might put on it, and you're above a certain dollar price, it will, of course, hit my radar. Some, of course, I like more than others. And again, just go on and on. Here's your Sezzle, here's some Sound, here's some SYM, here's your SMR. And again, this is, you meet some of those. Here's a TMDX, a really healthy one. And guys, this is just one of the screeners. And then what you can do is you can save this screener. You can play with it a little bit more. You can adjust it. And there is a lot of things that you guys can play with here on Finviz. I think it's very easy to use. One of my favorite screeners, but I just wanted to give you guys one of my favorite ways to find stocks that have been trading momentum. And again, a lot of these stocks will even come up on my radar before we ever trade them. So it's just a good thing to have, good little tool in your back pocket. And I wanted to get this video out for everybody tonight before I did the watch list. So anyway, I will leave you guys with that, and hopefully that is helpful. Any questions, you guys are always welcome to ask. And kind of from what I can see, it feels about the same as the free version. So if I notice some big meaningful difference, I will let you guys know. I spent about $240 on it for the year. So, how do I feel about it? I don't know. I'll let you guys know if I think it's, worth spending the money or not. But, as far as I'm concerned, free has always worked for me. So, anyway, thank you guys again, and I will see you guys in the morning. Cheers.